Hello, how's it going, everybody? Today we're jumping into Joel chapter 1. Let me make sure we're not lagging here. We are. That should fix it. Let's see here. We're going to be finishing up Joel today. Yep. All right, we're good. So let me get my Bible out and we can get started. At the beginning of every book in my Bible, I have a study Bible. So at the beginning of every book, it gives like a brief rundown of each book, some background information. So I want to read that. So the book of Joel. Natural disasters, from rising flood waters to violent earthquakes, provoke fear and dread. With all their ingenuity, people still cannot control these powerful and destructive forces. They can only watch in awe. Joel begins his book with a description of such a natural disaster, a plague of ravenous locusts. In the prophet's hands, the destructiveness of this plague becomes a vivid warning of the power of God's coming judgment and a clear appeal to run the Lord for mercy. And keep that in mind. The coming judgment, because that's going to be a question here in this next section right now. I'm going to read. The author of the book of Joel is the son of Pethuel. Very little is known about the author's life or circumstances. His name means the Lord is God, suggesting that he was reared in a home where God was honored. The references to Zion, Judah, and Jerusalem indicate that the prophet lived and prophesied in Judah and Jerusalem. His frequent references to the work of priests in the temple lead some to conclude that he was a priest. But Joel also displays considerable interest in agriculture in all of its forms. That's probably why he started off talking about the locusts, the destruction of all the vegetation around, because agriculture was important to him. As a prophet of the Lord, he could have been knowledgeable about the temple in Jerusalem without having been a priest. See, notice how the way they're talking about Joel. We're drawing from context clues. We're making interpretations. We're making assumptions. We're speculating here. So, and that's expected in a 3-chapter book, right? We're finishing Joel today, 1 to 3. That's it. So, not a lot is known, and that's further evident in this next section here. Scholars have offered various dates for the writing of the book of Joel from pre-exilic times. So I'm assuming pre-exilic means prior to the exile to Babylon. Let's see. Pre-exilic. What does that mean? The pre-exilic prophets. Pre-exilic prophets are all tied together with the same... No. The Bible does not order the prophetic books chronologically. Make that bigger. In their historical context. Historically speaking, the prophetic books are divided into the categories of the pre-exilic and the post-exilic prophets. I'm assuming that it's talking about the exile into Babylon and stuff. The pre-exilic prophets can be divided into pre-Assyrian and pre-Babylonian prophets. Yeah, it's got to be. The pre-Assyrian prophets were Jonah, Amos, Hosea, Micah, and Isaiah. They ministered from 734 to 722 BC and warned of the coming of the Assyrian Empire, who took the northern tribes of Israel into exile in 722 BC. The pre-Babylonian prophets were Nahum, Zephaniah, Habakkuk, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. They ministered from 722 to 586 BC and were warned of the coming of the Babylonian Empire, who took the southern tribe of Judah into exile. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. So my Bible is saying Scholars have offered various dates for the writings of the Book of Joel, from early pre-exilic times to as late as 350 BC. So let's get a little visual representation of that. I pulled up a picture earlier in yesterday's reading, this one. So they're saying anywhere from 350 BC, from early pre-exilic times to as late as 350 BC. Some believe that the internal evidence in the Book of Joel indicate that the book was written during the reign of Joash, king of Judah, 835 to 796 BC. So that's not even on here. Right? It's only going up to 680 here. Wait. How does this... Okay, so it's here and then here. Yeah. So we look at it. 350 is not even on here. So we're looking at a time period from 835 BC to 350 BC. So they have they're not sure when this guy Joel was alive and when this book was written. (835 BC), so around here. During the reign of Joash. Right here, around this time here, right? To not even on this map. So he could have been writing prior to all of this stuff, all of the judgment and everything, or way after. Because the temple destroyed, Daniel, the fall of Babylon. So temple started, temple resumed, temple finished, right? They were brought back. Cyrus, right? So that means after the judgment. So anywhere from around where's 835? Around here, yeah, around here to not even on this picture. So looks like there's not a lot of information on this guy. Let's see what else my Bible's got to say. This view is based on the following considerations, talking about that it could have been written during the reign of Joash, king of Judah. This view is based on the following considerations: the location of the book between Hosea and Amos in the Hebrew canon suggests a pre-exilic date of writing. Okay. In the Hebrew canon, I'm not sure the ordering of the books there, but we went from talking about Isaiah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel, and then we jumped back to Hosea, which is like, what's the order here? You know what I mean? So I don't know if we can go on the ordering of the event of the books, but then again, I don't know how the order of the Hebrew canon is. The allusion to the neighboring nations as Judah's foes rather than Assyria. Well, the Hebrew canon, is that talking about the Bible? Because it is between Hosea and Amos. So I still can't, because Hosea came out of nowhere. So we're really fishing here. The allusion for the neighboring nations as Judah's foes rather than the allusion to the neighboring nations as Judah's foes rather than Assyria, Babylon, or Persia point to an early date for the book. The book does not mention any reigning king, which may suggest a time when the responsibility for ruling rested upon the priests and elders, as was the case during the early reign of young King Joash. Others believe the book of Joel is so close in tone to the book of Zephaniah that it is likely that the two prophets were contemporaries. The primary evidence for this is the fact that both books prominently feature the concept of the impending day of the Lord. Since Zephaniah's book dates from around 627 BC, a number of scholars assign a date of about 600 BC for the book of Joel. Yeah. So it's all up to interpretation. We have no clue when, like this picture has Joel over here, but looks like that's not set in stone at all. So let's jump into this, Joel chapter 1, and let's see what he's got to say for ourselves. I'm going to get the text up, volume on, and we can get started here. Joel chapter 1, and we're aiming to finish Joel today, so let's see how it goes.
The book of Joel. The word of the Lord that came to Joel, the son of Pethuel.
Hear this, you elders, and give ear, all you inhabitants of the land. Has anything like this happened in your days, or even in the days of your fathers? Tell your children about it. Let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. What the chewing locust left, the swarming locust has eaten. What the swarming locust left, the crawling locust has eaten. And what the crawling locust left, the consuming locust has eaten. Awake, you drunkards, and weep, and wail, all you drinkers of wine, because of the new wine, for it has been cut off from your mouth.
For a nation has come up against my land, strong and without number. His teeth are the teeth of a lion, and he has the fangs of a fierce lion. He has laid waste my vine and ruined my fig tree. He has stripped it bare and thrown it away. Its branches are made white.
Lament like a virgin girded with sackcloth for the husband of her youth. The grain offering and the drink offering have been cut off from the house of the Lord. The priests mourn who minister.
Let me pause it real quick. Talk about the locusts. What the chewing locust left, the swarming locust has eaten. What the swarming locust left, what the crawling locust has eaten. Blah, 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 etc., etc. Do you think he's actually talking about locusts, or is he talking about the state of the nation, that they're being eroded over and over and over again? Like they're just being dwindled down. Let's see if my Bible has anything to say about that. Chapter 1, verse 4. And it does. Oh, yeah, it does. Many interpreters have viewed this locust swarm as foreign armies. Okay. Yeah. Okay, there we go. That attacked Judah in successive waves. Assyria, Babylon, Greece, Rome. Yet literal locust plagues were one of the judgments promised if the people disobeyed God and broke their covenant with him. So then you can take multiple interpretations there. Further, Joel's description of the damage done by the locust compares with eyewitness reports. The impression given is one of overwhelming devastation.
Offering have been cut off from the house of the Lord. The priests mourn who minister to the Lord. The field is wasted, the land mourns, for the grain is ruined. The new wine is dried up, the oil fails. Be ashamed, you farmers, wail, you vine dressers, for the wheat and the barley, because the harvest of the field has perished. The vine is dried up, and the fig tree has withered. The pomegranate tree, the palm tree also, and the apple tree, all the trees of the field are withered. Surely joy has withered away from the sons of men. Gird yourselves and lament, you priests. Wail, you who minister before the altar. Come, lie all night in sackcloth, you who minister to my God. For the grain offering and the drink offering are withheld from the house of your God. Consecrate a fast, call a sacred assembly, gather the elders and all the inhabitants of the land into the house of the Lord your God, and cry out to the Lord, Alas for the day! For the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as destruction from the Almighty. Is not the food cut off before our eyes? Joy and gladness from the house of our God? The seed shrivels under the clods. Storehouses are in shambles. Barns are broken down, for the grain has withered. How the animals groan. The herds of cattle are restless because they have no pasture. Even the flocks of sheep suffer punishment. O Lord, to you I cry out, for fire has devoured the open pastures, and a flame has burned all the trees of the field. The beasts of the field also cry out to you, for the water brooks are dried up, and fire has devoured the open pastures.
Blow the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. For the day of the Lord is coming. For it is at hand, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, like the morning clouds spread over the mountains.
A people come, great and strong, the like of whom has never been, nor will there ever be any such after them, even for many successive generations. A fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is like the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Surely nothing shall escape them. Their appearance is like the appearance of horses, and like swift steeds, so they run. With a noise like chariots over mountain tops they leap, like the noise of a flaming fire that devours the stubble. Like a strong people set in battle array. Before them, the people writhe in pain. All faces are drained of color. They run like mighty men. They climb the wall like men of war. Everyone marches in formation, and they do not break ranks. They do not push one another. Everyone marches in his own column. Though they lunge between the weapons, they are not cut down. They run to and fro in the city. They run on the wall. They climb into the houses. They enter at the windows like a thief. The earth quakes before them. The heavens tremble. The sun and moon grow dark, and the stars diminish their brightness. The Lord gives voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For strong is the one who executes his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. Who can endure it?
Now, therefore, turn to me with all your heart, with fasting, with weeping, and with mourning.
So rend your heart, and not your garments. Return to the Lord your God, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and he relents from doing harm. Who knows if he will turn and relent, and leave a blessing behind him, a grain offering and a drink offering for the Lord your God. Blow the trumpet in Zion, consecrate a fast, call a sacred assembly, gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the children and nursing babes. Let the bridegroom go out from his chamber, and the bride from her dressing room. Let the priests who minister to the Lord weep between the porch and the altar. Let them say, "Spare your people, O Lord, and do not give your heritage to reproach, that the nations should rule over them. Why should they say among the peoples, 'Where is their God?'" Then the
We've
Lord
heard this
will be
same
zealous for his land and
prayer
pity
multiple
his
times
people.
now.
The Lord will answer and say to his people,
Behold, I will send you grain, and new wine, and oil, and you will be satisfied by them. I will no longer make you a reproach among the nations, but I will remove far from you the northern army, and will drive him away into a barren and desolate land, with his face toward the eastern sea, and his back toward the western sea. His stench will come up, and his foul odor will rise, because he has done monstrous things.
Fear not, O land. Be glad and rejoice, for the Lord has done marvelous things. Do not be afraid, you beasts of the field, for the open pastures are springing up, and the tree bears its fruit. The fig tree and the vine yield their strength. Be glad then, you children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God, for he has given you the former rain faithfully, and he will cause the rain to come down for you, the former rain and the latter rain in the first month. The threshing floor shall be full of wheat, and the vats shall overflow with new wine and oil.
So I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten, the crawling locust, the consuming locust, and the chewing locust, my great army, which I sent among you.
So I'll restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten. Okay. I thought they were using a metaphor there, but it seems like, okay. It seems like, he's talking about, just blatantly here. I'm going to restore the years that these locusts have eaten. But I guess you could still take that as talking about the armies or locusts. Let's see if my Bible says anything. Chapter 2, verse 25.
I will...
Yeah, it doesn't touch on that, but it's the same general message.
Shall overflow with new wine and oil.
So I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten, the crawling locust, the consuming locust, and the chewing locust, my great army, which I sent among you. You shall eat in plenty.
See, my great army. So, army of locusts, or his great army, like he used the Babylonian army to rain judgment down on his children. So, yeah, it could be interpreted both ways.
Army,
but what's
which
the intended
I
meaning?
sent
That was my question.
You shall eat in plenty and be satisfied.
But the focus on the locusts, I feel like, honestly, he's talking about actual nations' armies, not really locusts.
Praise the name of the Lord your God, who has dealt wondrously with you. And my people shall never be put to shame. Then you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel. I am the Lord your God, and there is no other. My people shall never be put to shame. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. And also on my men servants and on my maid servants I will pour out my spirit in those days. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved.
For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there shall be deliverance, as the Lord has said, among the remnant whom the Lord calls.
That sounds like it could be talking about the end times as well. But with this context, we're talking about the judgment here and this time. Let's see what my Bible's got to say. The heavenly wonders described here will take place before the great and awesome day of the Lord, an apparent reference to the end times. But with this remnant, that's the remnant that's going to be coming back to Jerusalem to rebuild the city. So, yes, it can be applied to the end times, but was this written speaking about the end times, or was it written speaking about the freeing of the people of Israel from Babylon, taking them back to Jerusalem and rebuilding the temple and the city. Blood and fire correspond with Revelation 8. Smoke corresponds with Revelation 9. Darkness corresponds with Revelation 8. Moon into blood corresponds with Revelation 6. So we're seeing ties over there. But then again, did they experience something like this there at this point in time as well? I don't know. Let's see. Like Joel 2 rabbinic commentary. Let's write Jewish commentary. What verse was that? 30. I don't know if that's last time it didn't correspond exactly. Yeah, see? Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so 4. Okay, here. And I'll perform the signs of the heavens on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke. The sun shall turn to darkness and the moon to blood prior to the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord, to embarrass those who prostrate themselves to the sun. The sun shall turn to darkness. Okay, so the people who worship the sun will be like, hey, look what happened to my God. It's nothing. So God is showing his power over all. What all the children of Israel are looking, or the neighboring nations are looking to as gods, well, God has power over them. So what are you going to do? And it shall come to pass that whoever shall call in the name of the Lord shall be delivered. For on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there shall be deliverance, as the Lord said, and among the survivors of whom the Lord invites. I want a little bit more information in the commentary, though. Well, I'll keep this open. I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth. This time of great outpouring of the Spirit of God will culminate in cataclysmic signs in the heavens, and the great and awesome day of the Lord. On the day of Pentecost, the prophecy of Joel was fulfilled, but not consummated. Peter rightly saw that this was a remarkable outpouring of the Spirit of God, given freely upon all who believe and receive, was promised in the new covenant. The prophecy of Joel was also especially appropriate because the day of Pentecost ushered in the last days, with history now moving along the edge of the consummation of all things, not rushing towards it as a distant point. The day of Pentecost commemorates the day of the Holy Spirit. Commemorates the day when the Holy Spirit was poured out on the disciples in Jerusalem and the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Okay. How is that the case? Chapter 3 and 4 consist of a prophecy of the end of days, of the great and awesome day of the Lord, when the Spirit of the Lord and the gift of prophecy and vision will be poured out on all flesh, and awesome signs will be seen in the heavens and on earth. Only those who call on the name of the Lord, the remnant of Israel, who had remained true to Zion and Jerusalem, will escape total destruction. So this is a Jewish virtual library, and they believe it's talking about the end times as well. So, but my question is, why are we? I can see that it can be related to the end times after reading Revelation, like knowing what takes place in Revelation. I can see it, but if you're looking at this just at this, isn't it talking about the events that took place around then, like the judgment of Israel and Jerusalem, then be taken off to Babylon, them coming back and then rebuilding Israel from, rebuilding the foundations of the temple and the city and all that stuff. And I will show wonders, but see, like the wonders and stuff, I can see like how it's what we see in Revelation. But the end result, the remnant of the Lord is going to come back. I guess what would answer my question is if this happened. The moon into blood, the sun turned to darkness, the blood and fire, pillars of smoke, all that stuff, all those signs, did that take place during the judgment? Or the returning when Cyrus delivered the children of Israel? No mention of any of that. So far we've been reading. No mention of anything like that. So maybe this is yet to come. And this is actually talking about the end times and not speaking about in this case, the near fulfillment, the near future fulfillment. What do you guys think? Are we talking about near future fulfillment or a far future fulfillment of prophecy? Or are we talking about both? Let me know your thoughts.
For behold, in those days and at that time, when I bring back the captives of Judah and Jerusalem.
You see what I'm saying? For behold, in those days and at that time, what time? The time when the captives of Judah and Jerusalem are brought back from Babylon. So I feel like they probably were talking about back then. And yes, it can be related to end times, but that was not what was intended when it was being written.
And at that time, when I bring back the captives of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. And I will enter into judgment with them there on account of my people, my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. They have also divided up my land. They have cast lots for my people, have given a boy as payment for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they may drink. Indeed,
that's crazy.
What have you to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon, and all the coasts of Philistia? Will you retaliate against me? But if you retaliate against me, swiftly and speedily I will return your retaliation upon your own head. Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my prized possessions. Also, the people of Judah and the people of Jerusalem you have sold to the Greeks, that you may remove them far from their borders. Behold, I will raise them out of the place to which you have sold them, and will return your retaliation upon your own head. I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the people of Judah, and they will sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off. For the Lord has spoken.
Proclaim this among the nations. Prepare for war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble and come, all you nations, and gather together all around. Cause your mighty ones to go down there, O Lord. Let the nations be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit to judge all the surrounding nations. Put in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, go down, for the winepress is full, the vats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and moon will grow dark, and the stars will diminish their brightness. The Lord also will roar from Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem. The heavens and earth will shake, but the Lord will be a shelter for his people and the strength of the children of Israel.
So you shall know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then Jerusalem shall be holy, and no aliens shall ever pass through her again.
And it will come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drip with new wine, the hills shall flow with milk, and all the brooks of Judah shall be flooded with water. A fountain shall flow from the house of the Lord, and water the valley of Acacias. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom a desolate wilderness, because of violence against the people of Judah. For they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall abide forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation.
For I will acquit them of the guilt of bloodshed, whom I had not acquitted. For the Lord dwells in Zion.
So everything is pointing to that time period of them coming back to Jerusalem and the judgment and all that stuff prior. I don't see them talking about the end times. I can see how it can be related because the events are pretty similar, right? You had a judgment, destruction, and God calling his people back home after. But so I can see how it you can draw parallels, but I don't know for sure that it was written with the intent of speaking about the end times, because it feels like it's within the context of speaking about this time, you know. But then again, the question of the moon turning red and all that stuff, because those are directly similar to what is written in Revelation. So the only way to know is like if that ever happened at that time, and based off of the other prophets, they didn't really speak about that yet. So what do you guys think? How would you interpret that? Let me know. But that's going to be it for today. We just finished chapter 1 to 3. I told you, we finished the entire book of Joel. Joel is pretty fast, and it covered pretty much the same stuff that we've been talking about. Let me read this here. My Bible has a section called the Day of the Lord, so maybe that'll give us some clues about that question. So one of the central themes of the book of Joel is the Day of the Lord. This language describes a period of time in which God comes down in a dramatic way to bring wrath and judgment on the wicked and salvation to the righteous. God is Lord of time. There is no period that is not the day of the Lord in a general sense, but at times God enters the space-time arena to assert in bold, dramatic ways that he is in control. The day of the Lord is a major theme of the Old Testament prophecy. 13 of the 16 prophets address this subject. The concept of the day of the Lord probably originated with the conquest of Canaan, a conquest which was in fact the Lord's war. That is, a day of judgment for the wicked Canaanites. The day of the Lord is not an isolated phenomenon or a single event in human history. Periods in in Israel's early history and latter history, the coming of Jesus, his second advent, are all called the day of the Lord in Scripture. The predictions of a coming day of the Lord can be fulfilled in a number of different events. The invasion of locusts and the historic events of the life of Joel was the day of the Lord. So, pretty much seems like it's saying that, hey, it could be talking about the end times. It could be talking about this time. It can have, you can find your meaning in it if you want to. But my question is, what was the intent when it was written? But the day of wrath and deliverance that soon fell on Judah in Babylon invasion, and in the Babylon invasion was also the day of the Lord. While most references speak of future events, 5 biblical texts describe the day of the Lord in terms of past judgments. These texts reflect circumstances of military defeat, tragedy, and judgment. And here we're talking about Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, and Ezekiel. Such events may have stimulated the development of the prophetic concept of a future day or time of judgment for the disobedient of Israel and all the nations. However, the day of the Lord is not just a day of wrath and judgment on the disobedient. In some contexts, it also includes deliverance and restoration for the righteous. The day of the Lord speaks not only of the future judgment, but of future hope and prosperity and blessing. Joel reveals that this day is to be heralded by heavenly phenomena, which will bring sudden darkness and gloom on the earth. See, here's my question. Joel reveals that this day is to be heralded by heavenly phenomena. Which day? We just established that it's not just one day, it's multiple days. So that means, according to this Bible, Joel is speaking about one specific day. And then within the context of what he's speaking about, it seems like he's talking about in this time, not a far future fulfillment. Joel reveals that this day is to be heralded by heavenly phenomena, which will bring sudden darkness and gloom on the earth. It will be a day of divine destruction on the nations that have persecuted Israel, and on the rebellious and disobedient Israel. Yet it will also be a time of deliverance and unprecedented blessings for God's people. What do you guys think? Do you think it's talking about the judgment of the nations at this time period, and the bringing back of the children of Israel to their home? Or is it talking about the future judgment to come in the end of days? Let me know your thoughts. It seems like within this context, it's talking about within this time. But then again, speaking about time, we don't know when Joel was written, right? But it looks like it's speaking about the judgment, taken off to Babylon, and then Cyrus bringing them back to Jerusalem. So let me know your thoughts. What do you guys think? How would you interpret this? That's going to be it for today, but that's going to be it for Joel. We've touched on this judgment and destruction so many times now. So tomorrow we'll jump into Amos. Let's see if we're gonna be talking. Yeah, we're talking about the judgment on the nations tomorrow in Amos chapter 1. So look forward to that. We'll see how things go. But it's interesting. We're starting off with the judgment on the nations, and then we're moving towards the judgment of Judah. So we're doing a little switcheroo there. So, and then a judgment on Israel. So we're working our way backwards. So that's interesting. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes tomorrow. How it compares to all these other prophetic books that talk about the same events. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed today's reading. Tomorrow we'll jump into Amos chapter 1. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.